screen. So Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Hope you had a great weekend and having a good start to a new week. So welcome. We'll get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru like we always do. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening to all of you once again. So let's get started. Today we will continue on our journey of chapter 4 and we'll be moving to Shloka 12. I think we spent about a week on the previous one to introduce the concepts related to not only the spiritual principle of reciprocation that God follows, but also how do we build relationship with God and what are the different forms, his Aishwarya Shakti and his Aishwarya Bhav and Madhurya Bhav, and how do we engage with God so that we can enjoy a higher level of reciprocation as opposed to limiting it. So today we move on to the next shloka and let's have another engaging, fascinating session around this topic. I will recite it and you're welcome to follow along. Kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. All right, let's take a few hands.
Shyamji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Shyamji.
Radhe Radhe. Kangchanta karmanam siddhim yajanta ih devataha kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, thank you, Shyamji.
Tarunji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Kanchantaha karmanam siddhim yajanta ihi devataha kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja.
Very nice, thank you. Tarunji.
Vandanaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja.
Very nice, thank you, Vandanaji. Okay, you can take the remaining hands as well.
Radhe Radhe, Riyaji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Kanshanta karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja.
Very nice, thank you. We can take the remaining hands too.
Radhe Radhe, Pragiji, please go ahead.
Pragiji. Pragiji, are you able to?
Pragiji, we cannot hear you. Okay, I'll just move on to Aparna ji for the time being. Radhe Radhe Aparna ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmajam. Thank you.
Thank you, Aparna ji. All right. Last.
Adi ji,
Abhijit, are you back?
once again, Radhe
Yeah.
Radhe. Yeah.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe. काङ्क्षन्तः कर्मणा सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवतः क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा.
Very nice. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
काङ्क्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा.
Very nice. Thank you. So let's get started. In this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying that in this world, those desiring success in material activities, let's pay close attention to what those desiring success in material activities. Okay, material, he's not saying spiritual. And then he says they worship the celestial gods. Since material rewards manifest quickly. Now, quickly is a relative term, right? So first of all, he's talking about material activities and then the material rewards. Nowhere spiritual word is used here, right? And then he's also saying that material rewards manifest quickly. So it's in relation to the spiritual rewards, of course. And those people, they go and worship the celestial gods. So we'll try to understand the celestial gods and this whole concept that Lord Krishna is talking about, right? So let's get started. I found this pretty fascinating, right? This William Barclay had said that there are two great days in a person's life: the day we are born and the day we discover why. And once you discover why, then what happens? And it says success is sure in spiritual life if you do two things. First is start. That means you figured out why, then you start. And second is don't stop. Okay, so don't stop. It's very important to first start and then not to stop. Okay. Anyways, so spirituality is something basically once the spark is there, right? It becomes a full-fledged fire. You just need to fan it periodically. And how do you fan it? You fan it by continue to engage in satsang, preventing yourself from kusang, doing seva, doing sadhana. Simple fundamentals. Get back to basics, get back to fundamentals. When cricketers go out of form, they don't pop in a magic pill. They go back to fundamentals. Go back to the net practice, start practicing again. Okay, so these three fundamentals, if you keep in mind, then your spiritual journey would always remain on track. The speed that you take could vary, but at least you are always on track. So let's get started. My God, what is this? You see this? It's an interesting place, busy place. It's a mall, shopping mall. Now in this mall, we know there are a lot of brands, right? Such as, what are the brands? No brands. Like Levi's, Nike, Coach, Louis Vuitton, all that stuff. Now, all the shopkeepers at the mall, owners of the brand, they're not the owners of the brand, right? Even if you're going to a factory outlet or any mall, they are simply giving the products to you. They're not the owners of it, right? So they're not the parties. They're simply the intermediaries or the brokers. And there was a movie, interesting movie. Which one was that? Khosla Ka Khosla. I saw it a lot of years back. So one of the dialogues that struck with me from that movie was when this guy comes to deal, I think real estate, related to real estate, he said, are you the party or are you the broker? I will speak with the party directly. So we'll talk about who's the party and who's the broker today. Okay. They're not the owners of the brand. They are simply, running either a franchisee or simply getting it from the owners and making a sale, right, in the malls as well. So keep that concept in the back of your mind. And now let's proceed with what we are going to discuss today. Now we are president of a country. right? The president of a country is there, and then in order to run the administration, he has a lot of ministers. In US, it is called secretaries, right? Different secretaries that they have, Secretary of State, and then Secretary of the Treasury, and Secretary of Defense, and whatnot, right? Attorney General, and so on. Similarly, there are posts. They are, they are the chosen posts where they are serving those posts for a certain tenure. It comes with a tenure or an expiry date. At the end of the tenure, the government changes and the post holders change too. Right? So similarly, in administering the affairs of the universe, there are posts such as above. This whole universe, it has to be administered. If you look at it, all the the forces of nature, Vayu, Agni, the water, the ocean, Varun, all that is administered by certain gods, which are called celestial gods. They are not God himself. So these are the posts which are taken up by a suitable soul. So as a Jivatma, you could be tasked with administering one of those, right? Who knows? We might have, in fact, Maharaj used to say we have been Indras also. Who's the king of all these celestial gods. So we might have played a role of an Agni Dev, Varun Dev, and all that stuff, quite possible. Okay, it cannot be ruled out. So they are only Jivatmas who are also in 8.4 million, by the way. It's not that once you become a celestial god, a Devata, then you are God. Nothing of that sort. They are simply posts. It's a very important concept to understand. Okay. And Indra is the king of the celestial gods. Indra. Now, Indra is not one. There are multiple Indras because there are multiple Brahmans. There are too many Indras. And every universe has its own celestial gods, depending upon what kind of forces are needed there. And the celestial abodes are, we have spoken about this concept, these celestial abodes are just like golden shackles, golden jails, where people who have enough pious merit, they go there, spend some luxury vacation, and then come back again, okay, back into the material world. And Indra leads that pack of celestial gods like Agni Dev, god of fire, Vayu Dev, god of the wind, Varun Dev, god of the ocean. They are all Devatas, okay? And they are Devatas, they are in charge of the administration, and they do the work of managing this universe within this material universe. And they have a higher plane of existence, of course, than our plane, called Swarg, or the celestial abodes. Now, they are souls like us, Jivatmas. You and I can become one of these as well. Nobody can prevent us from becoming that. And because of the pious deeds that they have acquired, from their current birth, past, punyas that they have done, they acquire these seeds for a fixed number of ages and administer the affairs of the universe. They are called Devatas, celestial gods. They are not God. That is the first concept. They are souls like us. They occupy it. Post. They are basically administrators of this universe. Okay, nothing more than that. So it's a position they occupy, and then finally they have to vacate it as well. Okay. Now, Vedas mention there are different ceremonies that people do for the satisfaction of the celestial gods. And in turn, they bestow material prosperity as well. However, when we perform it for the satisfaction of God, it is like watering the root itself. Okay, because all these celestial gods, they derive their energies from God himself. So the power outlet is them, and they are simply utilizing those powers. I think I spoke about this story in one of the previous sessions where God goes and, just stands there in celestial abode as a fireball, I believe. And Indra goes on to say, Varun Dev, go and check who this person is. So he gives an introduction in arrogance, we ask him, who are you? And God asks him, who are you, by the way? He said, I'm Vayu Dev, don't you know? I can blow away, anything just like that. And God said, sure, let me check show me your strength. And he starts turning on the speed, and God cuts the power. So Vayudev was helpless because he's the power source. Same thing happened with Agni Dev as well. He started raising the heat, but God cut the power, so he could not do anything. So the point here is they derive energy from God himself. And when you serve God, you're automatically serving these devatas. So you don't have to serve them separately, right? It's like taking care of a tree and say, I need to water the tree. Tree is very large. So what I'll do is I'll go to individual leaf, I'll go to individual fruit, I'll go to individual twig and water it like this. The smarter approach is simply water the root, everything will be taken care of. Okay. So these Devi and Devatas are nothing, but they are souls like us who derive energy from God, and they are tasked with the administration of this world. Now, either you can keep on worshipping each Devi and Devata individually, like people do, right? They do yagya, havans and stuff like that. We'll talk about a Leela from Mahabharata itself. Or you simply serve, worship God. When you worship God, you're already serving the purpose of this creation. And now all the administrators, payrolls is taken care of automatically, because now you are attaching your mind directly to the CEO of the world. However, still, people worship Devi Devatas because material boons, they get manifested quickly in relation to the spiritual boons, right? Or the spiritual gains. And that is why they choose to worship Devi Devatas, right? In India, there is a big tradition. People go to Devi Devatas. This is our Kul Devata. This is our Kul Devi. If we don't do that, they'll become upset, mad. And if we do that, we will get some material benefits. There are some vidhis to do that as well. Our scriptures talk about if you do this, you become this. If you do this, you become like this. So people are typically, they have that allurement from the rosy words of the Vedas to actually get attracted towards these kind of rituals and worshipping Devi Devatas only. Okay. And there's a reason for that. You say, if that is not needed, why our scriptures talk about that? Our scriptures give us reasons for people of different propensities, because they also understand not everybody is ready for actual devotion, right? So they give them some kind of carrots along the way. Okay, at least discipline your mind, do this, do that. At least you will have some kind of a discipline, some kind of a routine you can build. So people get stuck at that level only, and they think Devi Devatas are the ones we should be worshipping because they cater to our self-interest by giving us material rewards. Now, material rewards, keep that. Material rewards, they manifest quickly. And material pursuits is the goal of that, right? This worship of Devi Devatas, it's not spiritual boon. That they don't even have the ability to take you across Maya. So if you worship any particular Devi Devata, they do not have that ability to take you beyond the ocean of Maya. They can at best make your life comfortable. They give you boons depending upon the vidhi that you have followed. If all of that is, desh, kal, niyam, dravya, everything is perfect, you'll get the boon around it. And in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult to get that right. Nevertheless, they don't have the ability to take us past this material world. Okay. Now and some people, they get worried, they have multiple Devi Devatas and they say, okay, by the way, if I stop worshipping Devi Devatas, won't they get upset? Right? They will get upset. I used to worship them and now they will get upset. They may feel offended and they may curse me or do something bad to me. Right? So that apprehension is there in the minds of a lot of people. So I'm going to stop share screen again with sound. That way I can show you what I wanted to show you. All right, hopefully you can. So let's hear a very short clip from Swamiji to understand this concept.
That Swamiji, I have been worshipping these Devi Devatas since so many years in my home. From the time of my father, grandfather. Now suddenly if I stop, will they not become annoyed? Stop my worship. First of all, the principle is there. The actual Devata will be happy that we have gone to the shelter of his boss. The Devata's worship is automatically fulfilled in it.
Okay, so it was a very short clip. Hope you understood.
That Swamiji.
So yeah, so when we go directly to the boss, the ministers are automatically taken care of. It's like watering the root that I spoke about and not really going to the trees. Then the question comes, why do we go to these Devi Devatas and all, right? We still go. Part of it is our ignorance. We don't know anything better until we come across the message of Bhagavad Gita or get knowledge from a bona fide source. part of it is our allurement as well. Allurement for things, material things, of course. What are those things? Material things. So let's talk about this concept. People who seek worldly gain worship the celestial gods and seek boons from them. The boons the celestial gods bestow, they are material and temporary. Okay, so two characteristics of those, material and temporary. And they are given only by virtue of the power they have received from the Supreme Lord. Okay, so God has given them the power like he has given us the power. We have it to a limited extent. Devi Devatas have it to an elevated extent because they are the administrators. So of course they have an advantage, but this power comes from God himself. And whatever they can bestow, as per the vidhi of our scriptures, they are material and temporary. So it's not spiritual and it is temporary. So why do we go for that then? So let's understand this concept a little bit. Why do we go for that? You see this roller coaster ride? It is something that is very thrilling, right? It thrills us, but it doesn't fulfill us, right? So thrill is something that we get from material rewards, and irony of our life is we limit ourselves to thrill alone. We don't care about fulfillment. If you give me thrill, I'm game for it. I'll get my next thrill. Thrill is like this sine curve you see, sine wave. Sine wave in physics, you would have maths. It goes up and down and up and down. But thrill is all that we care for, right? But it thrills but never fulfills. That is the key. Okay, so material boons, nobody has become happy by fulfilling their material boons or getting material, no matter what. You think of your lifeline and the timeline of your life rather, and think about how many material aspirations you made, right? A lot of them would have gotten fulfilled, but did it give you the happiness that you thought? Did it give you the fulfillment that, now it will not? So we go for thrill and not necessarily for something that will fulfill. That is the key. Plus, we always are in a hurry. There are so many people I meet. They say, tell me something in a time-bound manner, I can get something. Can I see God? You give me a formula for that and I can do that, right? So that's where this picture will put it in perspective, right? You see this guy? He's come in a helicopter and saying, what's the meaning of life? Make it quick. I've got an important meeting in half an hour. And I have seen so many people come and just explain me quickly. Okay, don't give me all the flow, just explain it to me. Doesn't work that way. Got to be a bit patient about it. But we typically go for things that we can see in a time-bound manner fairly quickly. And if you look at this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying, typically people go for material boons because they are thrilling, of course. That's why we go for them. We get some kind of a pleasure out of it. Pleasure is thrilling, but never fulfilling. Happiness is fulfilling, but the kind of happiness that we get is more pleasure that we mistake for happiness. And we want to do it quick. We want instant thing. It's a time of instant gratification. Okay, give me something new. Scroll until I find something. Again, scroll. So our attention span is like, we want quick results, and it's spirituality takes time. Like they say, right? In order to fructify, or in order to get a good fruit, you need to give it time. If you put masala and artificial, its taste will not be good. So similarly, this thing takes time as well. So we got to be patient. And when we get patient, we go for spiritual boons and spiritual things, not the material boons. So then we interact directly with the party, not the brokers. Like that movie I spoke about, are you party or are you broker? If you're a broker, I don't even have to deal with you. I will directly go to the party. So you go to God. And then we go to God. Are we going to ask for material boons? No, that's again, it's like going to a jeweler and asking for a broken pieces of glasses, right? You don't do that. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. But the point is that this whole concept of Devi Devata worship, as opposed to worshipping God himself, has to be seen in perspective, and we don't need to be scared about it when we build connect with God, even if we have been worshipping a Devi Devata for a number of years. Right? It's our fear, it's our expectation of a reward in return that basically compels us to continue with that part. But here Lord Krishna is saying people who want material boons, they go to Devi Devatas. Very clearly saying that. Now, let's look at this concept. Okay, so this is a guy who's in a C-class prison. Bad prison. C-class means third-class prison. So what happens? Let's look at his story. Now he is facing life sentence. Life sentence means he's kind of stuck in this prison. Okay. And now what happens? Something interesting happens. He gets beaten up and down day and night. That's why he's in prison. Of course, his life is miserable. And he needs to face punishment and scolding from the prison keepers, inmates, and so on. So basically, inmates, they are tormenting his life, and there's a lot of punishment involved because he's in prison. Now his endeavor is to build rapport with who's who of jail. Now he knows there are some people jinki chalti hai in jail, right? Like in Delhi, they say everybody's somebody and nobody's nobody. So there also, jail also, people who are pro and seasoned, right? They form some factions and groups and they know how to get things done. Yatino, or in India say, right? You figure out ways and make his life comfortable. And he's happy that he's able to get relatively comfortable facilities from time to time because of his good behavior and rapport with jail administrators. Now he starts building connections, okay, with jail administrators to enjoy some freebies and some comforts there as well. And then he's shifted to A-class prison because he's gotten some, jugaad going there. Now he met a person and keeps telling him that it is possible to get out of the jail. But Ramesh, who is stuck in this jail, doesn't believe him and quite content with intermittent pleasures that he's able to afford in A-class jail by approaching the who's who of jail administration. Now, this is the irony of our lives as well. We are in a jailhouse, we are being tormented. Our effort is to make our life comfortable in jail by going to the who's who are the Devi Devatas. Okay, they are some jail administrators, and not really thinking about getting out of the jail itself, right? Like you see this picture, I love this picture. All the effort is to get that next carrot or the bread or that enjoyment, as opposed to really thinking about getting the key to get out of the jail itself. So our endeavor throughout our life, like in the shloka, Lord Krishna is saying, we are going for things, we are going for material boons, which basically manifest quicker than spiritual boons. But we are content with that. We'll go to Devi Devata, and then we will get the boons, and that's about it basically. And then that's how we continue with our lives, as opposed to really striving to get out of the jail itself. Okay, so very few people actually strive to get out of the jail. Most of them are comfortable living in the jail itself and figuring out ways to make the life comfortable. So that is the whole idea behind it. And that is a Lord Krishna is saying, for material boons you go. See, typically, if you look at it, right, can Devi Devatas do have siddhis to give you that based on the framework God has given us? Can they change your prarabdha? No. God can also not change your prarabdha. See, they have a broader framework to play around with. Within that, they can give you things. But not at a macro level, even they cannot do. They cannot do, because it's God's law. Is there anything that God cannot do? Anybody? What do you think? Is there anything that God cannot do? I'll tell you, there are things that even God cannot do. He cannot do when it comes to cannot do. Okay, I shouldn't say cannot. He will not do, or cannot do, I would say, play with his own laws. Okay, those laws are laws, right? If his mother came to Lord Ram and would have said, can you please help the situation? God would not. Everybody has to do their own karni, right? They come with their own prarabdha and they have to go with that. Look at Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu's, the date of their marriage was picked up by, whom? Vedvyas himself. And then who was his father? Arjun. Who was Naravatar? Who was his uncle? Lord Krishna, who is God Narayan himself. Then was it enough to save him from what he was supposed to meet out in that life? No. So when Arjun was wailing, when he saw Abhimanyu dying, he went to Lord Krishna and he said, of course, he was also in that particular Leela that, he was missing him so much. So Lord Krishna said, okay, I cannot bring him back in this body because my law is a law. But let me make you meet his soul. And when he brought Abhimanyu's soul, he said, Father, which father are you talking about? The father that you're talking about, that body is still lying there in front of you, but that drama is over now. So which father are you talking? Soul doesn't have that, right? That the relationship keeps on changing. You have become my father in so many lifetimes, and I have become your grandfather in so many lifetimes. And this drama, the relationship that was there in that body is already finished, right? So let's basically move on. So one thing that even God cannot do is to change his laws. He cannot change his laws. It will become whimsical. People will lose respect for God if he were to tinker with his own laws. He doesn't do that. And even when he comes in his avatar, we have seen that enough examples are out there. Yes, Sandhya, you wanted to add something?
There's a question from Tanmeji. What about when karmas gets dissolved?
Karmas do get dissolved. Ah, yes, that is also, it follows a law. So when God dissolves the karma, that is also in accordance with the law. And what is that law? Law of surrender. You surrender, based on that, he will start dissolving your karmas also. So he does not make an exception. Even to dissolve your karmas, he follows a law. And that is a law of surrender. Very simple. So God, if he were not to follow the laws, then it will become whimsical and people will lose respect for God. Right? If something happening whimsically, it doesn't work that way. So even he's bound by his laws. He doesn't make anything different. Abhimanyu's, I think, wife Uttara, I believe, yeah, she became a widow at such a young age, but he didn't intervene. Ved Vyas had picked the Muhurat. Right? Krishna was his uncle, Arjun was his, still if he has to go, he has to go. And we think Devi Devatas are going to change our fortune. Just because we are going to do some mannat and this and that, it is being very naive on our side. So the law of prarabdha cannot be broken by anybody. So what happens is, few people, they go and do this mannat thing, right? And then they will do it in a temple. They will say it's a Siddha temple, not the regular one that you go to. Go to that temple which is right at the peak. You go there, do this mannat, and out of that 20-30% people, because of their prarabdha, something they will get, and then they will start spreading the word around and everybody will start following blindly. That, okay, you know what, if you go to that mata, if you do this, this will definitely happen. And this is how people start building superstitions around it. The reality is you will get what your prarabdha says, that nothing beyond, nothing less. This is how it works. And if an exception to the rule is made, that also follows a rule. Nothing is without a rule in God's realm. So that is how it works. So Devi Devta worship is fine, but we are going for a thrill, not for something that is going to really give us that fulfillment that we are looking for. It's a very short-term thing. And let's say hypothetically, there is a Devi Devata you have a very good connect with, you have a good reason to believe, and you are getting all the material boons, right? Will it translate, will that thrill translate into genuine happiness or not? Let's look at it a little more empirically, this whole concept. So let's say, okay, let's look at this metric. It's a pretty interesting metric. Now it might have changed. This is average happiness and GDP per capita of US. So if you look at it, the GDP has increased from 72 to 2016, it's dated data, from 20,000 to 55,000. That means it's more than twice, close to 3 times. If getting material things or money we think is going to buy us material things, that is why people love money, right? Because it gives us material things. Basically it could buy happiness, then the happiness quotient should have increased close to three times more it should have become, right? So as we look at the trajectory, it has actually dipped, spikes here and there, but it has actually dipped. So there's absolutely no correlation of getting more material things in our lives, no matter what it is, material objects in our life, no matter what it is, whatever that it's related to money or otherwise, and our happiness quotient, because it is not resulting in fulfillment. It is just giving us that thrill which subsides after a while. DC is one of the states, I believe, in US which has the lowest GDP, not GDP but per capita income, but contrary to that, it is one of the most happiest. Bangladesh, I believe, is, you would be surprised to see your happiness index, it's number 3 in the world. Okay, although it's not one of the developed countries or richest countries for that matter. There is absolutely no correlation between material things, money, or happiness and the fulfillment that we are looking for. And that is what God Krishna is saying, that people, I would say, who go to Devi Devatas, they're missing a point there. Okay, let's put it in perspective. First of all, if you want to satisfy Devi Devatas, you do worship of God, it is automatically getting done. Secondly, if we are going for material rewards, asking for something and material boons, it is not a good smart strategy at all. Plus, for us to actually get those boons, a lot of things have to fall in place. I said, na, Desh, the place that you are doing, Kal, the Muhurat of that patra in which you are doing it, right? All that has to be Desh, Dravya, the material that you are using has to be pure, the money that has gone into that. So many factors have to fall in, plus the pronunciation that is happening, that has to be perfect. So many impediments are there. And if we were in some other yuga, that might have been okay to do. Like people used to do Ashwamedh Yag, Putra Kaveshti, this Yag, that Yag, and they would get the fruits for that. But in Kali Yuga, forget it, that you will get it right. It's very, very difficult to do that. Right? Even if you Om Bhuva Swaha, I mean, I shouldn't be saying that like that. That also, if your swar and everything is not perfect, you will not get the result. Okay, so we can, for our satisfaction, we can do that, but you have to get everything right, including the swar. So rather than that, just do Radhe Shyam, Hare Krishna, or Radhe Radhe, right? It's a simple thing. It has all the powers in it, as opposed to complicating this whole process, trying to learn recitation and all that stuff. I mean, it just complicates things. So it's a bit of like this. Our priorities are a little misplaced. Rather than going for things that matter, we are actually messing it up for ourselves. Okay. So any questions about this concept? I know we covered a lot of that stuff, but anything related to the Devi, Devata worship, the celestial gods, how they are different from the real God, how you and I can become Devi Devata as well. And it's a temporary post that we spoke about. And the real deal is to build a connect with God, as opposed to getting hung up in material worship, for material rewards, and that too something which is temporary in nature. Okay, I see a couple of hands. We can take a few questions on what we have spoken about today.
Radhe Radhe Tarunji, please go ahead.
Radha Radha. Yeah, so I have regarding the worship of the celestial god, I see there are two ways to look at it. One is the asking for the material things, and the other way I had looked at it is that thanking them for giving them the natural things, like the sun gives the rays, Agni gives the thing, and so Indra gives the rain, which gives us all the things. So as we are in debt to our parents for giving birth, and so we thank them, we serve them, and so so we call them as the natural god, and we need to at least thank them for their things which they have provided. Maybe not asking for the material boon, but thanking them for the natural resources is required, or is good thing. I want to
No, that's fine.
confirm
I
on
mean,
that.
we can go on a Thanksgiving campaign to all the Bhutas, Devatas, and all that stuff. It's a good attitude to have. But yeah, smarter strategy is to, if you thank God, you're automatically fulfilling that person. How
Okay.
many leaves and fruit you will pick up to thank, right? It's a lot of thanksgiving we would need for that. But yeah, rather than asking, thanking is always a good thing. But when you worship God, you are fulfilling the purpose of that thanks as well at that point. It just keeps it simple. God is telling that I have made it very simple to you. See, it's like if you want to give in charity, to too many things. One is to keep on finding place. Okay, if this is for the hospital, this is for the road, this is for this. Secondly, you deposit it to IRS and they will dispense it to wherever it is needed, right? So that is the whole concept. You just do devotion to God, every purpose is getting served, making it. And that is probably why our Vedas have made it a little difficult, all the ritualistic aspects of the devotion, right? They have made it difficult that, you have to really right. The patra, the desh, the kal, the niyam, the person who's doing it, and everything has to be spot on for you to get the result. But in case of devotion, they made it easy. Because end of the day, the purpose of the Vedas is served if you do devotion to God, as opposed to getting hung in that. But people have their tendencies and people have their intentions, and that is why some basically, and it will continue as well, they will keep on getting stuck at the level of acquiring material boons only, because our goal continues to be world. We enjoy it. We want to make our life comfortable in the prison. We are happy in this prison. So that is the whole idea. But yeah, this Thanksgiving that you're saying, it's a better attitude than asking. But if you are doing devotion, you are automatically, thanks is also taken care of in that case. Yeah. Yes, Sheetalji, you had a question as well.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Sheetalji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Actually, I have a question regarding that God doesn't change his own rules. So he changed sometime, like for example, he changed his rule while Draupadi's Chirharan. So doesn't he change it accordingly? Because is that why we have the incidents like rape cases or the Manipur incident which recently happened in India? So what exactly or when exactly he changes the rule? Like you mentioned, sometimes as per the prarabdha. That's all I
Right.
want to
So,
ask.
yeah. See, in case of Draupadi, he did not change the rule. Right? If you look, he followed the same rule. What did he follow? He followed the rule of surrender. He did not his Ambar avatar did not intervene. Let me tell you the narration of the sequence of the event leading to that Ambar avatar. Draupadi first she looked at her husband, that Bhim is going to smash Dushasan's head, or Arjun is going to stand up and protect her. So she had, what do you call, that her husbands, ashray on her husbands, like we have ashray on our relatives. Somebody is going to protect us. When we are in trouble, she did not think about God. She thought about, she looked at her husbands first. Bhim Sen, Gadadari Bhim, and Gandhi Udhari Arjun. So she had that pride that they are going to save me. They hung their head. Then she looked at her elders. The elders are there in the courthouse. They are going to definitely intervene. So Bhishma Pitama, Kripacharya, Dronacharya, Dhritarashtra, they also hung their head that, sorry, we can't do anything about it. What does she do after that? Does she give up? No. She was one of the Panchakanya. She was a very strong lady. Then she used her own power. Swabal Ashray. Like we say, Swabal Ashray, we also have that Ashray. I am also somebody. My bank balance, my insurance policy, my this, my that. I am powerful. I know this person. We have that pride also. So she also tried that. That also failed her because Dushasan was very powerful, right? And if Dushasan, she was equally powerful to Dushasan, then the sari would not have been so powerful to maintain that shearing, right? The sari would have torn apart. Then, and when that also failed, then she said, Dwarkadhish Govind Dwarka Vasin Govind. He said, all right, Dwarka Vasin Govind. And then the moment she surrendered to God, God avatar took place. By the way, she said Dwarka Vasin Govind, and it took just a bit of time for God to do that. Why? Draupadi asked him, confronted Krishna afterwards. He said, you know what? Why did you come late? He said, I did not come late. He said, but I knew. Even if a second of delay would have happened, it would have been a tragedy. He said, that's because of you. You said Dwarka Vasin, and first I had to go to Dwarka and then become Dwarkadhish and then come to you as a Govind. While I'm seated within you, you could have just simply called me like out that. Nevertheless, so he followed a rule of surrender. So he doesn't make an exception. As regarding some of the bad things that happen in this world, we don't know. Few things we'll get to know only after God realization. It could be a function of so many things. It could be a bad timing. It could be somebody exercising their free will to book their ticket to Narak for I don't know how long. And it could be maybe something karma catching up, right? If somebody is doing this kind of so we really don't know. I mean, it's very difficult to answer such questions when we look at that. But God is willing to make, his intervention as soon as his will is, law is followed. So Draupadi, he did not make an exception. She surrendered and he had to intervene. In fact, it is one of his laws, right? Last shloka, we said that he has to reciprocate. If you call him out, he has to come. He has no choice but to. You don't leave him any option at that point. But we have to call it out via, belief that God is there. So he doesn't make any exception to his rule. Everything follows a rule. No exceptions there at all. Hope I answered part of your question. I see the new grandmother today. Yes, Preeti ji, good to see her back in sessions. And congratulations on getting promoted. She is grandmother, by the way. Let's congratulate her.
Radhe Radhe Preeti ji, congratulations.
Look like one, but she has gotten that role now. But good to see you back.
Yes, thank you so much for the kind words and the great wishes. Nitinji, coming back to the session, I was thinking you said what God will not do or God cannot do. Don't judge me by the words cannot or will not, but that is what is playing in my mind. God has given us this free will where we choose to do the things. He has left it upon us. Like there is a fork in the road. You choose road A or road B. He has left it to us. He has given us both. Is my understanding right?
He's given the fork. Can you just repeat that part? The fork.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, every time there is a fork in the road, and there are two roads, there is road A and road B.
Yes.
He has left it to us to choose either A or B.
Perfect.
Correct? So,
Yes. But the thing here is that everything has a price tag to it.
yes. So,
Nothing.
my
So free will is called free will, but if you look at it, it's very expensive.
yes. My question is, so since he has given it and it is our calling to choose whatever we would want to choose, either A or B, he cannot undo that. I mean, he lets it to us, whatever we choose.
Yes. Yes.
So
Perfect.
one thing he cannot do is he will not help us choose. He'll give us choices.
True.
Based upon our intellect, our understanding, our righteousness, or all such things, which 16.123 say, we would choose.
Yes. True.
But he will not undo that. I mean, based on we choose right things or wrong, we will face the consequences. And as you narrated Draupadi's story, the beautiful story, when we are, in the dire needs of him, we will call and he would surely come. But the choice, he will not undo our choice. You choose. I'll be always there for you. You choose. Is that what I understand? Is
very true.
That
so if a person has a knife in his hand, right, and the person cuts a vegetable to cook meal for people, right, he's going to give the energy regardless. Now, if he has a knife in hand and he robs or kills somebody, he's not going to stop you, but there will be consequences. So I'll give you one statement. It is, just think about it. God says, your will is my will, but that doesn't mean my will was yours. He may not want you to, right? Your will is he will give you energy regardless. There are price you have to pay for the actions that you choose. He's not going to stop you if you're going to do a bad thing, like so many incidents we hear, the incidents of rape, incidents of murder, theft, all that stuff. He's not going to stop you. There are consequences, right? So the price tag you have to pay. So everything has a price tag to it, basically. He will not stop his energy. His energy is agnostic to what you use it for. He's going to give you the power. He's the power grid who's giving you the energy. Now you can use that energy to rotate a fan, to run an AC, or to electrocute anybody. There is a price to it. That's all it is. And that is the law of karma, right? In Ramayana, it says, karma pradhan rakhi rachi rakha jo jas kariye so tas phal chakha. So he has made it karma pradhan. Based on what you use your free will for, he's going to bestow you the fruit for that. And karma never misses its date. So many things we see in this world, they are born out of, and we all have, if I tell you some of the stories, I mean, it's like even the acts of Mandavi Rishi, I will tell you, this guy was a Rishi. Okay, it's a Mahabharata story. I think Mandavi Rishi only. So what happens? He was caught basically at a place where I think some thieves were there at his house, and the soldiers of the king mistook him for a thief. Okay, and those days the punishment was they will put a big bhala inside your body and let you bleed to death. That punishment he was awarded for a sin that he had not committed. Okay, and when he was there, the king came to know about this, right? This punishment was given to him. And after a few days, king came to know and he said, oh my God, it is a Rishi. What have I done? But anyway, he was closing down on his life because of that, this whole bleeding thing. And he was a Rishi, he was able to withhold that position and he left his life years. And he goes to Dharmraj. And he goes to Dharmraj and says, for what sin of mine did I have to go through this torture? Okay. And Dharmraj tells him, as a 14-year or 12-year-old, during one of the plays, in one of the butterflies, he had actually pierced it with a, just as a play. So he said that I'm going to curse you. First of all, you need to change your rule for, before 14 years when you don't have this thing developed. For that, I have to bear this. So I curse you that you have to go to Mrityulok and spend time there. And then the Dharamraj, this Yamaraj, he had to come as Vidur in Mahabharata, okay, because of that curse. But think of it, in ignorance, in so many things we end up doing. And so karma never misses its state. Even for an animal in Akku is that a rishi had to bear that. Then who are we mortal or ordinary mortals? I don't know how many sins we would have done knowingly, unknowingly. Kind of Dhritarashtra story, that 100 sons. So it is all something, and all of us are sinners. Okay, even if you have done one sin in life, knowingly, unknowingly, we have done infinite sins already. So our only recourse is to do devotion and get out of this cycle. If we start calculating it, I mean, it's pointless to do that. But yeah, karma never misses. So the point that you're talking about, God is not going to change. Hey, you're going to do this. I'm going to stop my energy. No, he said, go ahead. There'll be a price tag. Perfect justice dispensing system you're part of. So that's how it goes. So your will is my will, but that doesn't mean my will was yours. And how can we align the will? By doing surrender. When we are surrendered, then our will is perfectly aligned with God's will. And he takes control and takes us as an instrument at that point. But yeah, great question. Thank you for asking that, Vidhi.
There are a couple of questions in the chat. Can I read
Sure.
them? One is in this comment, just Karm Pradhan Vishwa Kari Rakha.
Vishwa Kari Rakha, yeah. Jo jas kariye so tas phal chakha, right? Something like that.
And there is this question. What kind of karmas makes soul go to celestial abodes or become Devi Devtas, and how they get free from that abode and go above that?
I don't know. This is a very interesting question. See, what kind of karmas, if you do a lot of punyas, you go to celestial abodes. Now, within celestial abodes, what is the qualification you would need? Because the only place where you can do purusharth or add to your bank balance is Mrityulok. Now, what kind of punya you have to do to become a Varun Dev, and what karma would make you an Agni Dev, or what karma would make you Indra Dev? I don't know. Okay, to be honest, maybe God knows. And secondly, since it is a Bhogyoni, I don't know how do you graduate from one celestial abode to another. Maybe you directly go to a particular celestial abode, because in a Bhogyoni, you cannot add to your Purusharth. You can only do withdrawal. You cannot do more deposits. So it's a pretty interesting question. Maybe I can ask Swamiji, but as I understand, there are a few things we will get to know as we, get to more closer to God. Maybe that clarity would come. But for now, let's understand that the only place where you can add or do Purusharth is Mrityulok. Once you go to celestial abode, you can only do withdrawals. And once the withdrawals are done of your punyas, you are back into 8.4 million. But yeah, it's a good technical question. I don't know.
There's a wonderful comment from Sheetalji. I had so many questions for God during such incidents, which he has answered through you, as he doesn't speak directly.
Okay, if you got some of your answers, then it's good. I think he puts words in your mouth so that certain doubts get resolved. So thank you for that.
There's a question from Sheljaji. What do you do when you are in a dilemma?
What do you do when you are in a dilemma? Where you're not sure what to do, basically. When you are in a dilemma, you do something that I don't know. I mean, maybe depends on the situation. I will choose the situation. Basically, anything, regardless of what we choose, you have to do it with the purity of intention and sincerity of heart, because you may get it wrong, right? You may not do the best thing in that situation, but as long as you are keeping the purity of intention and sincerity at heart, regardless of what you do, that is your insurance policy. Right? So intuitively you would know, are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it keeping the larger interest in mind or greater good in mind? Are you doing it to seek some self-interest, or are you doing it to help somebody? And even then, if you don't get a clear answer, if you don't have an access to your guru, then do it with the best intention and purity at heart, and then God will reward you for that, because it is an insurance policy for us in such situations.
Excellent. Last comment before I go to Urvi. Thanks for waiting, Urvi. There is, Smita ji says, there is so much population of dummy gods and goddesses, which to choose is problem. So Kul Devta is answer. And faith in doing such rituals is giving strength or courage. Then isn't it right solution?
You mean demigods, right? Not dummy. If they are dummy, then of course they're not God. Okay. No, that is fine. Anything that builds our faith and helps us discipline our mind is good. But Bhagavad Gita is catering to all categories of devotees. They are saying that is good, but don't limit yourself. Get the big picture. Now, if we refuse the big picture and say we want to get stuck here, that's our choice. God is giving us options. He's just showing us the way. That okay, that is good, but end of the day, at best you will get a material boon. So why do you have to deal with the broker if you have a party directly accessible to you? Why do I want to limit myself to Devi Devtas when I can as well have an Ishtadev and build a connect with them? Like, what prevents us? Are we scared? Or are we thinking that material world is more important? And why to even bother Ishtadev, where Ishtadev himself is saying, okay, come to me directly. So those are the questions we only have to answer for ourselves. God is just showing us the way. Now, if we want to limit ourselves, that is our choice.
Yes, Urvi, thank you for waiting. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe, I wanted to add to sing about bad deeds happening, right? So, actually, we all want happiness because they're parts of God. Similarly, we all like virtuous deeds because God is full of virtues. Obviously, He does not like anything bad happening, and that is the reason we also don't like it. But the fact that it is still happening or something, so now it's like I understand, God's
Voice is
perfect.
breaking. Audio is breaking. You want to fix that?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, now we
Yeah,
can hear you. Go ahead.
better.
Finish off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I was saying that because we like virtues because God has infinite virtues. So how I understand this concept is that God's laws are perfect, and the way He's designed the world and the laws of karma and the laws of surrender, if it would have been even 1% different, then the souls would not have been able to surrender to God. So it's all for our welfare and for the soul to reach the high to reach perfection. So everything happening is actually for the evolution of the soul, and the world always serves the purpose. So that is how I understand it.
True. We are naturally drawn toward virtuous fields. Even a robber does not like to get robbed, right? That means inherently, even robber values that one should not rob. But through his free will and because of the erroneous knowledge or whatever reason, they still end up doing it. Same thing for other crimes that get committed. Nobody would like that to happen to their near and dear one, but they still end up committing it. That means inherently the soul is drawn towards virtuous being a part of it, but then we overpower it because of our free will and incorrect understanding, and there are consequences. Right? We are free to choose our actions, but we are not free not to face the consequences. Right? So we do have a freedom, but freedom comes with a responsibility and a price tag. Great, Urvi. Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, Seema. Laddu.
Radhe Radhe, Seema, go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Bhaiya, Radhe Radhe Sandhya, Radhe Radhe everybody. So Bhaiya, my question is, even if Draupadi called Krishna by his Dwarkadish name, Krishna himself stated that even a 1 second delay could worsen the situation. But 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 he took his time since she called him Dwarkadish Govind, and her situation was so serious. I think in this scenario, I believe he should have just gone there and helped her instead of focusing on, what she called him.
So yeah, God has this rule, ye yathamam prapadyante, right? He has to reciprocate accordingly. Having said that, God has a sense of time also, right? He knows that 1 second is tolerable or not, right? Before his whole thing manifests. So I think God had a sense of that part. He might have made an exception, I don't know. Maybe that's just to illustrate the point that you don't have to think God in his Aishwarya form. God is already present in you, right? So that keep that knowledge. But God had probably sense about this, right? Even if he can afford that delay of becoming a Dwarkadhish and then coming, he would have manifested regardless. The surrender principle is there, and then again, of course, his rule took over, right? Yatha mam prapadyante tas tathaiva bhajamyaham. Now, if you say God is light, and he'll meet you as a light, and whichever form you perceive God, and he's obliged to meet you the same way. With regards to timing, if it's a joke or God played a prank or he was just trying to prove a point, even though he would have helped us regardless, we don't know, right? That's something we can ask Krishna. Why did he do that? Okay, that was not funny at all. Maybe you can ask him that.
I will, Bhajan, for sure. I'm just waiting to meet him. I think we all are. So thank you so much, Bhaiya.
I think Swamiji had also said it that it is on a lighter note. So I'm not sure if this is, like has to be taken very
Probably be on
seriously.
a lighter note. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Manjuji.
By the way, I wanted to let you know that we have an LTP coming up, and this is something you don't want to miss out on. Online, I don't think it's available, but if something changes, we'll let you know. It's in person, so if you are in and around Dallas, please come over. I'm telling you, it's a knowledge that you won't get anywhere, even if you pay thousands of dollars. Okay, that much knowledge Swamiji gives in one lecture. Amazing life transformational knowledge. So please come over, take benefit from it, help us spread the word around, bring your friends and family. If you can drive over to Dallas, we'll take care of your accommodation. And just wanted to let you know, LTP is not to be missed. Okay, that's a big program that's coming up. And of course, the Dallas retreat that is coming up along with Janmashtami. So if you're planning to come for Dallas retreat, you're flying over, it would make sense for you to extend that trip to celebrate Janmashtami as well with us and Swamiji. Okay. All right. I see a couple of hands. I just wanted to make these two quick announcements.
Yeah, just to add, I have shared the link for LTP in the chat, so please have a look at it, and also feedback tracker. You can put your comments or queries in that, and Nitinji will look at that and he'll get back to you. Okay, Manjuji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji and to all. Just to add to the last person's doubt on Dwarkadish, just to add some more thing with Nitinji. Yeah, he has already rightly pointed. So she was thinking that Draupadi was thinking that Krishna is in Dwarka. That's why she called with that name. That's why that happened. And in Swamiji, in his lectures, he tells that we should not attach intellect to the God. Like, we should not ask such questions. Like, intellect should be with the world. We should not play our intellect with God's leelas, like Swamiji was telling in his lectures.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, at that time he was having food and he just stopped Rukmini. He was having food with Rukmini. I said, what happened? He said, she's in trouble, Draupadi's in trouble, and immediately he had to intervene. Anyway, he's present all around, right? Not that he was in Dwarka or with Rukmini or anywhere else.
Since Draupadi assumed like that, it happened like that.
Right. God does his leelas, the way he wants. And he's present, he's omnipresent anyways. He's seated inside your heart. So, yeah, there's no place where he's not present. Yes, Nanikji, you wanted to say something? Is there any question?
Nanikji or Radhe
Radhe? About Drupadi, I was thinking that first we should try our own strength to do it, like which she did. The only mistake I think, or something she did, was Krishna Dwarka Vasi. But the other thing, we should surrender from the beginning, or we don't try our own thing, then surrender, no?
No, actually the concept of surrender is, God says that you have to become nirashrit. The condition for surrender is you become nirashrit, means you don't take anybody's ashray other than God's ashray. It's a very advanced stage to get into. where you understand I am sadhanheen, I am balheen, nothing basically. Everything is God's grace, and He's the ultimate savior for me, for everything. That is a very advanced stage to get into. We all have different prides. We don't know that, but layer over layer over layer, right? We think people around us will save us. They are my natis, they are my. So all those things will get dismantled. But God says, when you become completely nirashrit, I'm already there for you. But it takes, see, surrender is a state of doing nothing. But for you to do nothing, you have to do a lot of things. In order to get to the state of doing nothing, you have to do a lot of things. So yeah, she also had those ashrays, and those ashrays, when she gave up, then God immediately came. So the idea is to, the perfect ideal state would be to look at God as opposed to thinking about your worldly securities and all that stuff that we build around us. But that is a far shot, right? But at least we have to keep progressing towards that.
There is a cute question in the chat. Can I read it quickly?
Sure.
Maruti ji is saying, butterflies are beautiful. I agree to face the consequences for harming them. How about caterpillars? Caterpillars eating the tomato plants. On one hand, I want to preserve their beauty by not harming them. But on the other hand, I also want to protect my tomato plants. How do I strike a balance between these two aspects?
I don't know. I mean, it's a very tricky question. See, it says that all the organisms have an equal right to live and survive on this earth. God has not given us a privilege, okay, special privilege. So it's a very difficult question, right? Got to be very good. I mean, we kill so many things. If we are doing it inadvertently by walking, right? When we walk, we kill a lot of ants. We don't even know that. Jat Bharat, when he came back, he was, going. Anyways, those are saints, but it's very difficult. I mean, you want to preserve your tomatoes. Maybe there are ways to have some repellents for them. If you could have repellents where you would repel and they will not come. All those things are there, or you say, all right, 50% for you, 50% God has given us equal, right? I don't know. It's all our thing. But point is, there are karmas for everything. I was listening the other day, was saying that, don't have even fly. Keep your house clean so that you don't invite flies and mosquitoes and then you have to kill them. Right? I don't know how many lifetimes you have to take if the kind of, I mean, at least I have killed so many, I can't tolerate more mosquitoes, right? So in college life, I don't know how many, I have killed them by tons. So those things, everything has a consequence, unfortunately. That is why for every killing, do at least 500 Radhe Radhe, okay? That may neutralize, okay? So for caterpillar, you may have to do 5,000, maybe that might be a good rule. So just keep on chanting God's name. At least we should neutralize as much of sin as we possibly can. So for every killing, at least, few thousand Radhe Radhe or Hare Krishna or Jai Shri Ram, whatever you want to do, or Om Namah Shivaya or Har Har Mahadev. And then I think you will start neutralizing some of it. But it is serious stuff, actually. Law of karma, every organism, we are all of the same size, right? From an elephant all the way up to a fly, and to humans, they all carry the same spark of soul, right? So we are all same in that sense, and everything has a consequence. It's very simple. It's not that you should have done only a murder of a human to warrant some kind of a law of karma. No, everything has an equal right to live on this earth. Everything. Now, if they come in your territory, threaten you, then it's a different thing, right? When your motive is to protect yourself, and you are confronted with that situation, you cannot go and tell to tiger, Chief Namaste, what, I can't do anything to you, he'll devour you. So then you are allowed to do things for your protection. But other than that, it is said that there are consequences, and that is why they say Ekdasham, part of it is the cost of maintaining your own self on this earth, right? 1/10 rule that we talk about, time, money, it is just cost of living on this earth, because we do it at the expense of so many organisms. That is not even charity, okay? 1/10. Charity starts after that. So each one to its own. But yeah, I mean, if you go by scriptures, everything is a consequence, everything in this earth, which is scary also. But then when we are in devotion, let's not think about it. Let's continue doing Radhe Radhe, Hare Krishna so many times that we are neutralizing a lot of it, right? And getting closer to surrender. So that is actually even more important for us to do devotion. Yeah.
Exactly. This is what I was about to ask. Like, instead of worrying about this pap punya and giving headspace to this, rather we can just think
Focus on
about,
devotion. Yeah.
yeah,
Devotion is the most powerful means to burn off your stockpile of prarabdha, sins, and everything. So that is the best way, shortest, smartest, fastest, and easiest way.
however, there are many comments in response to this question. I will read them if need, I mean, if time allows, otherwise, sorry about that.
You can put it in the feedback tracker also. I know it's a pretty interesting topic you brought up today, so I can imagine.
Yeah, okay. She would be, and we are running past our time, but we have Sheetal.
Sure, we can take maybe 1 or 2 hands, and then we get into our devotional segment, couple of at least, and then we'll wrap it up. Our knowledge session is technically over at 10, but yeah, maybe 1 or 2 hands we can take, and then move on to our devotional segment.
Yes, Sheetal ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Like we were just talking about the karma and Draupadi, so just want to add one thing. Somewhere I read or heard the story that when some sadhus were taking bath in river, so Draupadi's did heat their clothes, and that's why the karma reciprocated in this situation of Chirharan. So that's why I had this question that God did after her karma also God helped her. That's why I had this doubt that why didn't God help all these women in current world. But like you mentioned everything, I what I understood or take from this session is just to surrender him is maybe I don't know what those girls have done or what their karmas are, but just to surrender God and not doubting in his leelas again anytime. That's what I take from this. And Nitinji, you are a wonderful soul, and God bless you if he hasn't done it already. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheetal ji. Thank you for your generous words. But yeah, I'm just doing my little bit, seva, whatever I can do. It's all Swamiji's knowledge, Maharaji's knowledge. Happy if it's helping in some way. But yeah, we have a wonderful song. It's all only because of participants like you that it makes for such an engaging and fascinating discussion, and we learn from each other. But yeah, if you can, put a recommendation to God to at least burn some of my sins, the killing of flies and mosquitoes that I've done, that will be very helpful. Okay. Maybe one more, and then we move to a devotional segment.
Urvi, yes, go ahead.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, because we were discussing about Papa and Punya, so I got into a very interesting case recently. So I have a very old and weak dog which was recently infested by maggots. So in order to save the dog, I have to kill the worms, right? And I was killing them. So now nobody can tell whether I'm doing a Punya or Pap. So that actually made, I was laughing at that, but at the end of it, I've realized that I've just stopped thinking about Pap and Punya. It's like just do Radhe Radhe and be merry. Anyways, Punya is also Pap and Pap is also Punya only. Okay, just that much. Okay, Radhe Radhe.
In one soul you slayed multiple souls, huh? Okay, that's cool. But yeah, the Pap Punya, actually Maharaj ji has simplified this definition so much. He said Hari ke nimit kiya gaya paap भी पुण्य और हरि के निमित्त ना किया गया पुण्य भी पाप. So end of the day, if we any act that we do and it is not offered to God, even if it's a punya, it's actually pap. And if you do a pap and offer it to God, that becomes punya. Very simple definition. Right? So some people get stuck at we get in our job, we have to cut corners and do certain things, compromise on stuff and like that. And Maharaji says, okay, that's fine. If you have to do that, offer it to God. It will just purify and change the whole equation altogether. Jyoti ji wants to add something. Yes, Jyoti, please go ahead.
Yes, Jyoti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. My understanding of this Pap Punya is all about our motive. And if our motive is clean, then any act that we do is not going to be considered as Pap. And like if we were to think, oh, I want that yummy tomato and I want to enjoy it, then even the aspect of eating it is Pap. But instead, if we say, I want to grow the tomato because a homegrown tomato will taste so sweet for my kanha, then whatever we do to protect it for kanha is going to be punya. And contrary-wise, I have deer that cross my backyard and eat up my tomato plants, so I've stopped growing them. And sometimes I feel like I'm doing pap by not growing them, because at least the deer were getting a nice salad buffet outside my house. But we have to do what we have to do to survive in this world. And at the end of the day, there's always going to be a small fish eating a big fish. Opposite, I'm sorry, big fish eating a small fish, and something has to give somewhere. And you rightfully said we have to do the proper prayers, and we say even while cooking, while washing, while eating, even while fasting, we are hurting the organisms that live inside our body also. So we just have to do the prayers, and we say, Bhagwanji, accept whatever we are doing. And as long as I'm not out there to kill a caterpillar for sport, I think we are good. Radhe Radhe.
We can keep our fingers crossed and keep on doing Radhe Radhe. Very nice. And keep our motives, intentions clear. Thank you, Yotidi. Let's move on to our devotional segment then. I've seen two hands for the devotional segment, Tarunji and Sandhya.
Just wanted to add, Kumarji has been like constantly saying, cannot kill caterpillars in any case.
Yes, those caterpillars are soon going to become butterflies, and you like butterflies, right? So
He's like, you can ask for bed bugs or mosquitoes, but not caterpillars.
no, I'd like to think less about them right now. So yeah.
Okay,
All
Tarun.
right.
So we move on to the devotional segment now.
Let's move on to our devotional segment, and tomorrow we'll continue on this discussion where we'll talk about why it is less intelligent to approach Devi Devatas. We'll talk about that a little more tomorrow and conclude this shloka. So let's move on to our devotional segment. You're welcome to stay back and listen to our wonderful recitations and chantings that we're going to do now. So Tarunji, are you going first?
Yes, Radhe Radhe Tarunji.
Radhe Radhe. Sorry, I was not planning to sing today, but can't stop from few lines which are perfectly fitting to today's context. So yeah, Radhe Radhe. मेरे गिनियो ना अपराध लाडली श्री राधे, मेरे गिनियो ना अपराध लाडली श्री राधे, लाडली श्री राधे किशोरी श्री राधे, ओ मेरे गिनियो ना अपराध लाडली श्री राधे, जो तुम मेरे अवगुण देखो, जो तुम मेरे अवगुण देखो, उनका ना कोई हिसाब लाडली श्री राधे, मेरे गिनियो ना अपराध लाडली श्री राधे, माना कि मैं पतित बहुत हूँ, माना कि मैं पतित बहुत हूँ, पतित पावन तेरो नाम लाडली श्री राधे, ओ मेरे गिनियो ना अपराध लाडली श्री राधे. So yeah, just wanted to say we all do these Pap Punya. Just keep our devotion, keep singing the name Ladli Shri Radhe Kishori Ji Ki Kripa. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much, Tarunji. Very apt for today's discussion. Yes.
I mean, Tarunji looks like a encyclopedia of bhajans. You can just wonderful.
A bhajan for every occasion. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you so much for that. All right. Who's next? Sandhya, you going to sing?
Yeah, I can go next.
Do we have anybody else today as well? No? Okay, maybe two. Go ahead.
This is a bhajan. I think maybe some of us might have heard this. I'll just go ahead. You can see the screen, right? कृष्ण नाम सोही जानिए, जो आकर्षण कर रे, भगतन के चित खींच कर चरण कमल धर ले, राम नाम सोही जानिए, जो रमता सकल जहां, घट घट में जो रम रहा, उसको राम पहचान। तेरा राम जी करेंगे बेड़ा पार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। तेरा राम जी करेंगे बेड़ा पार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। काहे को डरे रे, काहे को डरे, काहे को डरे, काहे को डरे रे, काहे को डरे। तेरा राम जी करेंगे बेड़ा पार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। नैया तेरी राम हवाले, लहर लहर हरि आप संभाले। हरि आप ही उठावे तेरा भार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। तेरा राम जी करेंगे बेड़ा पार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। काबू में मझधार उसी के, हाथों में पतवार उसी के। तेरी हार भी नहीं है तेरी हार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। तेरा राम जी करेंगे बेड़ा पार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। सहज किनारा मिल जाएगा, परम सहारा मिल जाएगा। डोरी सौंप के तो देख एक बार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। तेरा राम जी करेंगे बेड़ा पार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। तू निर्दोष तुझे क्या डर है, पग पग पर साथी ईश्वर है। जरा भावना से कीजियो पुकार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। तेरा राम जी करेंगे बेड़ा पार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। राम जी तेरा राम जी, हो तेरा राम जी करेंगे बेड़ा पार, उदासी मन काहे को करे। And we can, I mean, I could also put Swamiji in place of Ramji or Shyamji, anything. It's just the same. I love this bhajan, so I wanted to share. That's it. Thank you.
Cool. Very nice. Loved it. Need to have faith on Lord Sri Ram and he'll take care of everything. So that's how Guru do as well. So beautiful bhajan. Thank you, Sandhya, for that. By the way, happiness index, I'm getting a comment on that. Okay, happiness index is something we don't have to read too much into. Okay, so there are a lot of things which are created, like we spoke about Harvard study, but the fact still remains. Now, happiness index is a accurate measure, or it is being orchestrated. As it is said that certain developed countries, they manipulate that, to show certain things in good light and bad light, right? It doesn't matter. Our scriptures say happiness has nothing to do with material progression. So that is the key concept. Okay. Now, I'm not assuming that people will start specializing in happiness index and make their life a focal point around that by looking at that graph, as long as they've gotten the key concept that happiness is not correlated to material acquisitions, right? And in general, even in developing countries, if you look at it, although the GDP has increased, but the suicide rate, the discontentment quotient, the depression cases all have spiked. So it directly tells you material advancement has nothing to do with a general happiness quotient or happiness feeling at all. So that is a key concept. I'll focus on the concept, not on something that we take it too seriously and start taking it, to our heart about it. So hopefully that clarifies. Yes, Swati ji, you wanted to
Also
say
at the
something as
same
well?
or at the same time, I think people can check out this new book, Art and Science of Happiness.
Yes,
To
Art and Science of
understand.
Happiness is a wonderful book. It's a
I'll put the link.
must read. It talks about the science behind why we feel happy, the different kind of kicks that we feel, orchestrated by certain chemical release in our body, as well as what is the Vedic perspective on how to genuinely become happy, that fulfillment that we speak about, and not just the temporary thrill that we replace or substitute with happiness in our minds. So it's a beautiful book. Do check it out. If you've not read it, get your personal copy and start reading it. It is an amazing book. It will open up so many windows in your head on, where we get it wrong. Thank you for calling that out. Yes, Swati ji, you wanted to sing as well?
Yes, Radhe Radhe Swati ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. I'll sing 4-5 lines. नित्य सेवा मांगू श्यामा श्याम तेरी न भुक्ति नाही मुक्ति मांगू मैं बाड़े भक्ति निष्का नित मेरी न भुक्ति नाही मुक्ति मांगू मैं तेरी इच्छा में इच्छा बनाती रहूं तेरे सुख में सुख नित पाती रहूं बस चाह यह एक मेरी नहीं न भुक्ति नहीं मुक्ति मांगू मैं नित्य सेवा मांगू क्षमा श्याम तेरी न भुक्ति नहीं मुक्ति मांगू मैं Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
You, Swati ji, it's a beautiful bhajan. That is the philosophy of bhakti, right? We just want to do seva, more and more of it. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. Tomorrow we are going to take up, I seem reading through the tracker in parallel as well. So we'll talk about some questions, God helps those who help themselves. So what is surrender in that context? And should Draupadi would have moved on, or what is the perspective in looking at, what happened with her? Was it her karma and stuff like that? We will talk a little bit about that as well. And here we see Arya. Thank you, Seema, for bringing our youngest devotee to the session every day.
And she's so happy listening to you, Nitinji.
Let me see it in a spotlight. Spotlight for everyone. Here you go. Oh my God. Yeah,
So cute.
Hello, Arya. I think Arya
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe, Arya. She's enjoying it. She's the youngest devotee
So
of
carefully.
so carefully. Hello. He's like, okay, I've never seen this kind of an alien before. Hello.
No, you want to say, oh wait, I can unmute you, Seema. Just a minute. Yes.
He was
you-
actually answering Nitin Bhaiya.
Oh, what is she saying?
Ooh, ooh. That is Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Arya. Very nice. Thank you, Seema, for bringing Arya to the sessions every day.
Thank
Our
you. Bhaiya.
youngest class participant, youngest devotee of Radha Krishna.
Devotee, yeah. I'm sure she's going to create some amazing Insta reels for, Swamiji and Maharajji, and do a lot of wonderful work too. So welcome to the group, Arya. Pleasure to have you, and hope the feeling is mutual. Okay. Thank you.
It is Bhaiya. Thank you, Bhaiya.
Thank you. Okay. So thanks everybody. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you again for your enthusiastic participation and your engagement. So tomorrow we will continue on this topic. Radhe Radhe. Good day. Good night from my side. Monica ji, I see some guests at your place. Okay. Who's that?
Radhe Radhe. No, she's Lakshmi. She attended a few sessions, Nitinji, almost a week back. So she has 1 year old. So Abhi, she was telling me that I'm missing those sessions. I'm like, I'm in the session already. So she wanted to hear it. Sorry for the background noise.
Pleasure to have you, Lakshmiji, and look forward to you attending more of our sessions. And I see, thank you so much on the group as well. And who else? Manisha ji has turned on our video, so good to see you.
Yes.
And Preeti ji came after a while, so good to see a lot of familiar faces.
Sairam ji also turned on his video.
Sairam ji is probably on his sojourn to moon right now. Yes. Radhe Radhe, Sairam ji. Great. So a couple of things, if you are interested, if you are from a technology background or project management background, we always need volunteers for that, to manage events and coordinate and make a project plan. And if you're good in technology, website and all, please put it in the feedback tracker. We'd love to take help from you. Just wanted to announce that. Okay. Good night. Good day from my side. I'll see you tomorrow. Radhe Radhe. Bye bye, Arya.
Everybody, good night, good day, Radhe Radhe. See you all tomorrow.
See you all tomorrow.